ain't taking notes from nobody.
Your superstars have off games.
Follow us on social media at Celtics Talk Weekly.
Welcome into Celtics Postgame Live, everybody. I'm your host, Justin Lowe. Alongside with me, my co-host, Seamus Arlego. Seamus, I was listening to that intro that we have, and it's a voiceover of me saying, your superstars have off games. Well, the Celtics superstars tonight definitely had an off game as the Celtics dropped Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals to the Milwaukee Bucks, 109-89. It feels like the Celtics beat themselves from the tip. Actually, I will admit, they had a first good 6 to 7 minutes, and then Milwaukee called the timeout. Milwaukee took all the momentum of whatever Boston had to start this game off, and they ran with it. Boston had this game between 6, 7, 8, 9 points this whole game. It felt like we were down 30 the whole game. We were only down. There were times I looked at the scoreboard. I was like, oh, it's only a 2-possession game. We're only down 6, but it felt like 30. Seamus, what are your reactions to this opening game? Only first game, but certainly a lot to touch on here.
Well, this is probably what the Nets felt like in round 1 when we faced them, particularly in games 3 and 4. And tonight for the Celtics, or this afternoon rather for the Celtics, the Bucks controlled the entire game. And the Celtics, it really looked like that week off of rest. They really looked like the team that played 6 or 7 games in the first round rather than a team who swept the Nets in the first round. And I wouldn't say, I wouldn't go as far as to say that I'm concerned right now because it's game 1. We've seen teams drop game 1s in the past and come back.
Milwaukee.
And 2019, they dropped game 1 on their home court. They come back. They pretty much gentlemen sweep the Celtics, and then all of a sudden that series is over. I'm not saying that's going to happen for the Celtics. I expect this to be a long series, but I wouldn't overreact over this game because, like you said, this game, it really felt like Milwaukee had it by the balls for 95% of the time, and it felt like they were up 20 to 30 points the entire game. Yet you looked at the scoreboard, and it was either 5, 6, 7, 8 points, and you were just always sitting there thinking, well, the Celtics are at least in striking range. But the Celtics, they shot themselves in the foot the entire night. The physicality was crazy in this game, and the Celtics simply didn't bring it as much as the Bucks did. And whether or not that's all on the personnel or guys just bringing it to the court, whether it's effort or not, that's up for debate. But the Celtics didn't bring their physicality to the floor. They turned the ball over way too many times. They settled for too many shots out there. Jaylen Brown was particularly bad today. I wonder if he's 100% healthy with that hamstring. Some of his shot selection and the way he was moving around, it just didn't look like your typical Jaylen Brown, especially look in that Nets series. He was super aggressive near the end of that series. And today he settled for a lot of shots. And that was the theme on offense today, as guys just settling for shots and settling for that early shot clock shot. And you saw they put an emphasis on it on the broadcast. Milwaukee in transition, they have been the best transition team in the NBA for years. Even though their numbers have gone up and down, Milwaukee has been the best transition team consistently good transition team in the NBA since, 2018, 2017, even going back then. And yet the Celtics didn't convert in transition, and the Bucks did. And off those early opportunities, or those opportunities where the Celtics were just giving them running out, and the Celtics, when they were taking those early shot clock threes and giving them those early opportunities to run out and create those opportunities in transition, that is what really created the landslide for the Celtics this afternoon. And moving forward, they have to play slower. They have to play. They need to muck it up a little bit more themselves. They need to be more physical. They need to make it more of a half-court game moving forward, because the Celtics, they can't win if they're just allowing Milwaukee to run on them every single possession.
Yeah, and obviously Chris Middleton is a big missing piece there, but let's put some respect on Milwaukee. They're still the defending champs. I know obviously Middleton is a really, really big piece to miss, but they're still a tough team. And I like how you pointed out to start the broadcast. You mentioned, well, now we know how Brooklyn felt, because that's exactly what I was thinking. And there were definitely some questionable calls in that second half, calls where even I scratched my head. But at the same time, I posted after the game the list of reasons why we lost this game. It starts here and the refs are down here. In my opinion, the Celtics shot themselves in the foot from the get-go. Right, I'd say about midway through when Boston was up 8 and Milwaukee called a timeout. There was a certain play where I was like, this has Milwaukee written all over it. And I knew from then. And another thing that I noticed was Seamus in the third quarter, Giannis was actually a stupid foul. Even Coach Budenholzer was like, dude, what are you doing? Giannis fouled Tatum going for the ball, and that's his fourth. So with about 3 minutes left, a little over 3 minutes, Giannis had to go to the bench for the rest of the quarter. That's when I knew the Celtics weren't going to win this game. Not to sound like a Debbie Downer, but when the Celtics could not convert without Giannis Antetokounmpo, without both Chris Middleton on the floor, that's when I said, this definitely has Milwaukee written all over it, because Boston had their starters on the floor, and they couldn't convert. Every time they would cut it down to 6, cut it down to 8, Milwaukee always had an answer, whether it was Wesley Matthews. Bobby Portis tonight was tremendously huge for them. Grayson Allen hit some shots. Drew Holiday, who Mark Jones mentioned, he's been a very inconsistent shooter. Well, tonight he was pretty damn consistent from long range. And the list of I don't want to
forget hometown Pat Connaughton too.
Pat Connaughton as well, who is one of those Celtic killers. Mark Jones, he made a good point where it was just this game could never get into Boston's kind of momentum swing. I thought the Celtics let a lot of calls dictate their game tonight. I saw a lot of complaining, which I get it. It's frustrating. It's the playoffs. It's emotional. But at the same time, look, you're trying to win a playoff game in front of your home fans. Milwaukee just stole home court right now. And game 2, I think this is a somewhat good loss for the Celtics. I know there's no such thing as a good loss. I'm talking about more of a morality booster, more of a mental thing, kind of bring them back down to earth. They swept the Nets. I don't think they were cocky at all. I don't think they were riding on their high horse. But at the same time, it's like it brings them back down to earth a little bit. And it's like, okay, we got to go back game 2. They absolutely bullied us. Smart and Rob, they actually came up, bobbled up a few plays. Jaylen Brown as well. They can't let that happen to them. They got totally, excuse my language, I don't swear on this program, but they got totally bitched tonight on their home court. And it showed in the final score, 101-89. Celtics, Seamus, do you have a problem with the Celtics 3-point attempts? I do and I don't. Like, there were a lot of good looks tonight from 3, but I thought they might have heavily relied on their 3-point shot.
Well, I certainly don't like the 3-point attempts early in the shot clock and the heat check shots. I love what Peyton Pritchard can bring to the floor, especially we talked about early in the season, him at the start of the fourth quarter. But we started the fourth quarter. That was a crucial stretch right there, because the Celtics were sort of still in the game in that portion of the game there right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And yet they went 0-5, and 4 of those were heat check shots from Peyton Pritchard.
And he only had 2. I know.
Do you really want those to be your shots when you're trying to pull out a game 1? I mean, imagine if we go to 7 games in this series and we lose in 7 and look back and go, look at that little moment in the fourth quarter. We could have easily turned the momentum there for a second with Giannis on the bench. Obviously, they have no Middleton, and all of our guys are out there. And we could have turned that towards us and actually pulled this game out down the stretch like we did against Brooklyn in games 1 and 2, yet 0-5, 4 of them were Peyton Pritchard 3-point shots. They highlighted one on the broadcast. He took one with 13 seconds left on the shot clock. Those are just not good shots. And I believe tonight, I want to go look at the official numbers. Did we take more threes than twos?
Yes, we did. It was like easily 20. At one point in the fourth quarter, the Celtics had like 49 attempted threes, and it was 29 attempted twos.
Yes, so for the game, they attempted 50 threes. 53s, and they attempted 34 twos. That is too big of a discrepancy. And in this game, it was such a physical game. You saw Milwaukee. Remember, we were talking about it on this show last week after the Celtics beat the Nets. It was Milwaukee is going to be tougher to defend because they are going to get the ball in deep. They're going to drive to the rim, be super physical, and be kicking out to their open shooters. Right. Whereas the Celtics on the other end, They just settled for shots the entire game. 34 twos to 53s. That's settling right there. And yes, we take some good threes. We take some good 3-point attempts where we move the ball around, get an open guy in the corner, something of that nature. However, when you're just throwing it up there, heat checking it, possession after possession early in the shot clock, those are just not good shots. The Celtics needed to be way, way more aggressive today, and they needed to convert more often on their opportunities. There were many opportunities throughout this game where, especially in transition, they could have easily gone to the bucket, got themselves a call, got themselves in rhythm, getting themselves a bucket at the rim, and they didn't go. They didn't go to the rim, and they kicked out for three. They settled, and that was just the theme of this game. I think the Celtics, this series is not over by any means. People will go out there and overreact and say, "Oh, Bucks have the Celtics number. Here we go." People talk about, "Oh, I saw somebody in the comments say, I hope we don't get swept." We're going to win a game this series. The Celtics, all of their problems today are very fixable. Some of them, over a 7-game series, you definitely have questions on them whether or not, that will overcome them in a series where, maybe in the end they lose by, a very small margin. However, a lot of the problems the Celtics had today can be fixed by simply going to the rim more, converting more on opportunities, taking better shots, and of course, just being more physical all around on both ends of the floor. But ultimately, they're going to have to figure out Milwaukee in transition. I already talked about that, but there's a roadmap for the Celtics moving forward, despite all the bad, the bad play we saw today.
What's the roadmap? Oh, I thought you had more to say. I'm sorry. I thought you had more to say. But no, I agree. And I know you just mentioned you hate to sound, kind of repetitive on the transition game, but that's really, really important. And that's where the Celtics got absolutely destroyed tonight. What was the difference in that? Do you have the numbers pulled up?
Let's see here.
I thought they got thumped.
I think I got to go to NBA.com for this because they don't have it on the app. I have no idea why they don't have that stat on the app.
They used to have everything on the app.
NBA app, add transition points or fast break points. They're not on the
everything in the program. But I thought, what are your thoughts on Derek White? We'll kind of shift from Peyton Pritchard since we're talking kind of about bench production. Derek White tonight, 10 points, did come alive in that third quarter, but first half, I thought it was a rough going for him.
Well, he's had a couple of rough games here in the playoffs and just down the stretch in general.
Right.
Wait, I'm getting the fast break numbers here. So, yeah. Oh, my Lord.
Was it bad?
Oh, my Lord. I just saw this number now. I mean, it definitely felt like this. Fast break points. Milwaukee, 28 fast break points. Boston, 8.
Well,
that's horrendous.
I did mention earlier it felt like we were down 20 at some point in an aspect. I guess it was because of all the fast break points.
And it gets even worse. You go to points in the paint, Milwaukee 34, Boston 20. And then second chance points, Milwaukee 19, Boston 14. I mean, those three categories. You go to NBA.com, they're in these little they have the little pie charts right here at the bottom. Those three categories are so important. Points in the paint, second chance points, and of course, fast break points. If you can win those categories, typically a team wins a game. Milwaukee won all of these categories completely outright tonight, or this afternoon, rather. I keep saying tonight, but it's this afternoon. But back to Derek White for a second. Yeah. Derek White, his shooting is definitely a concern. You have to – I don't know if they can keep using him as – this spot-up shooter on the outside, how long that can go on. He's a tremendous defender, and you want him out there for that. But, you almost wonder if you want the ball in his hands a little bit more and him driving and him making plays rather than being a spot-up shooter. But that's just sometimes the role that guys fall into, especially, we have guys, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all running the offense out there as well. But Derek White, it's going to be a tough go playing him down the stretch. Typically we don't have to, but you saw in that Brooklyn series, if Jason Tatum or somebody else fouls out, he might be the guy who steps in. But playing him down the stretch and relying on him to make shots, I believe in him. I still want him to take good shots at the end of the day, but he's definitely, having a rough go on making open shots consistently. And that's really been the theme throughout his entire career. Still a tremendous player, but that's just going to be a problem that you're inevitably you're inevitably going to face with him.
What's your biggest takeaway from this game? Like, you're probably not that you have to worry about it, whether even if it's good or bad. Like, what would you say like your biggest number one takeaway from this game was?
My biggest number one takeaway was the Celtics are not going to dominate this series at all. I mean, I don't, against the Nets, there was a point where you looked at it and went, okay, they're going to win this series. It was in the fourth quarter of game 2 where they overcome that 17-point deficit. They chip away, and you're just looking at it going, this Celtics team just has more players than the Nets. And what they're doing, they're out-scheming the Nets on both ends of the floor. The Nets just simply don't have enough. But tonight, you look at Milwaukee, and really coming into this series, we all knew Milwaukee was a really fully functional team, very versatile team, very long athletic team. And they showed that today. And they displayed that clear and evident today on the Garden floor. And it's just going to be a tougher go for the Celtics against a team like that. And it's not going to be like the regular season either. All 4 of our matchups against Milwaukee, we really didn't have a game where everybody was out there.
Right.
Like everybody on both sides, of course.
Right.
We had random guys on both sides play, every other night. And I think this series moving forward, even though Milwaukee doesn't have Middleton, that's still going to be it for them moving forward. There's going to be moments in this series where they certainly miss him, where they need a bucket. Today, there weren't really moments where they needed a bucket in isolation. The Celtics, they didn't make it as hard as they needed to on Milwaukee, especially in the fourth quarter going down the stretch. Milwaukee had a lot of open shots because of their physicality, because of their ability to create those open shots on the perimeter. But, the Bucks are going to be tough to beat. I came into the series thinking that, this could be over in 6 games for the Celtics, and theoretically it could still be.
Right.
But I just think it's going to be a really tough go against this Milwaukee team because they're versatile, because they're experienced, because they fit so well together. I still think that no Chris Middleton's going to have a huge factor on this series, but, Milwaukee is just so tough on both ends of the floor with their versatility, with their ability to make shots, and just Giannis being the best player on the planet. I'm willing to now come around on Giannis being the best player on the planet. I had Kevin Durant all the way up until probably the end of this season. I mean, not so much our playoff series, but the end of the season. But Giannis is certainly the best player on the planet right now, and that's not going to be an easy task to get by.
His shooting numbers are like skyrocketing compared to his other seasons. His mid-range game, unbelievable. This guy's starting to pull up, not like a set shot, like pull up from mid-range and starting to hit it. His free throws, a lot more relaxed, a lot more poised. He's starting to hit his free throws with no problem, although he did miss 2 straight tonight. But I will be ready to say Giannis is the best in the league if he can develop a consistent jump shot, especially if it's a perimeter jump shot. I've been so high on Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo would be unfreaking believable if he could develop a 3-point shot.
I think in the big moments, I think Giannis has the ability to hit those shots.
Yeah.
And typically teams leave him wide the hell open from 3. And, we talk about a transition again. If Milwaukee creates those opportunities in transition, teams are always guarding the bucket with him because he is one of the most dominant paint scorers since Shaq.
That's what I said.
He's really better than Shaq, honestly, down low. I shouldn't say he's better than Shaq, but some of his scoring numbers are certainly up there with Shaq.
He is one of the most dominant players since Shaquille O'Neal. In my opinion, that's not too arguable.
And that's part of the argument on why I think his jumper, he can hit them in the big moments. We saw it in the finals last year. He hit a couple of big jumpers in the moment. But for me, his dominance on the defensive end of the floor and his dominance on the offensive end of the floor, particularly going to the rim, and just his will and his athleticism and his length that he can just get past anybody at any moment. Like, you put any player in front of Giannis, he's getting past him one way or another. And that could come at the free throw line too. And he's either getting fouled or he's finishing over guys and getting fouled. And to me, I almost think he doesn't need a jumper because he's so good at that and just so dominant at going towards the rim that it doesn't even matter because guys, you saw they build a wall in front of him. It doesn't even matter. He goes to the foul line or he finishes over guys. It just doesn't even matter. And so I'm willing to say Giannis is the best player in the league. I still think Jokic was the MVP this year because of what he did for the Nuggets. But Giannis, I mean, we're playing him in a playoff series right now. And, a lot of us coming in, especially in Celtics Nation, we're talking about this is a moment for Jason Tatum. He just surpassed Kevin Durant in a certain light where he just completely outplayed Kevin Durant for 4 games in playoff series where he swept him out of there. And people are looking at Jason Tatum going, okay, the next guy here, it's going to be you and Giannis and probably Embiid as well. And Embiid, he has injury problems right now. It's Tatum and Giannis in this series. But Giannis, I mean, he's on another level right now. And if Tatum wants to get up to that level, he's going to have to put up better performances than the one he had today because Giannis is going to continue to show us up in this manner because he not only has the skill and the willpower, but he just has the mentality of a great, great player. And I'm thankful that we get to watch him in this series, but ultimately, it's not going to be fun.
Ian, what the hell was that?
That was terrible. Actually, that was probably that was not fun. That was not fun. I can safely say that was an awful game.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. I'm not gonna lie to you. Your audio is like atrocious right now. I don't know what's going on, but I heard
because I have my AirPods in. So
I mean, when was it for you? Kind of. I kind of was telling Seamus, it was at the point in the third quarter when Giannis went to the bench with about 4 minutes left, and he was in foul trouble. It was at that moment where I was like, okay, the Celtics might be screwed here because without Giannis, without Middleton on the floor, the Celtics really could not get anything done. What was it kind of for you, and maybe even the atmosphere in the Garden when you guys realized that, like, this isn't going to be easy as we thought?
Yeah, it was kind of like 5 minutes left in the third quarter where I kind of felt it, where I was just like, you know what? It's not going to be an easy sweep like it was against the Nets. And, I mean, I knew that going in that the Celtics weren't going to sweep the Bucks because the Bucks actually play defense. But, it was rough. I mean, taking what, like 50 3-pointers in a game and hitting like 20 of them, that's probably not the recipe for success. And, it was a rough game. I'm not going to lie to you. But, yeah, at that point, about like 5 minutes left in the third quarter, I think I knew. I'm like, yeah, there's no way we're winning this game. So
you and I lost hope around the same time.
Pretty much.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah, pretty much.
Seamus, what do you got to say? You look like you got something to say.
All right, so my latest post out there, it's the box scores. I don't know where he went. Oh, there he is.
Something's going
It's
on.
the box scores. Our series with the Bucks 2 years ago, and it's the little Drewski meme right here. Where I'm just saying, we won the first game there, and then we lost the next 4 and lost the series. Bucks win the first game this year. Maybe they lose the next 4 and lose the series. That's what I'm saying. I think people thought that I was saying like, oh, here we go again. Look how dominant the Bucks are. But no, I was just saying we won the first game in 2019, lost the next 4. They win the first game here. What happens in the next 4? We'll have to see. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be at game 2. So
Damn it.
I guess we'll have to see.
You're not the best of luck here, Ian.
You know what? All right.
I'll be at game 3.
I'm at 500 now in the playoffs.
Are you going to game 3?
Mm-hmm.
Is he joking?
No, I'm not joking. I'm going to Milwaukee for game 3. And I'm really hoping that it's not going to be, just for one moment in time, I was thinking, man, game 3, Milwaukee's chance to go up 3-0. Why not?
Oh, my God. Don't
Hopefully not. That would be a bad.
I thought about that in the fourth quarter. I was like, what if we go 0-2 at home? I texted Rob. I was like, dude, if we go 0-2 at home, we are toast. Like, not that I'm losing hope, but like that wouldn't be fun. All right, look, let's kind of transition to game 2 really quick. I do want to mention before we go, like this. Maybe I mentioned earlier in the episode in the program that okay, maybe this does suck in the moment, but maybe for the future, this might not be all that bad. This might be a little kick in the ass for the Celtics. Like, hey, look, we just got smacked on our home court in every aspect. We got to go out here and we got to dominate game 2. We need to win game 2. We need to defend home court. We can't drop 0-2 with the possibility of going down 0-3 on the way. We'll start with you, Ian.
Yeah, this has to be a wake-up call for the Celtics. I mean, if they don't get like any sort of like sense of urgency after a loss like this, I don't really know what the rest of our chances are going to look like.
Right.
I mean, I think their biggest problem is that they had no offensive game plan. I think that was a huge issue, and I don't know, maybe it's just rust because they had the days off from sweeping Brooklyn. But I don't know, man. I feel like they need to go back to the drawing board when it comes to offense because shooting 53-pointers is not the greatest offensive plan, especially when you're not making them. So, and that's going to be that. And then, like, with the other thing, I mean, people are going to talk about the refs in this game. Yeah, they were awful, but, they were just terrible all around because that's just what Scott Foster is. So, I don't know, man.
Sounds like all those Bostonians are trying to get out of the garden as quick as possible with all the horns going on. I don't know why people beep. It doesn't work. It doesn't make things better in the TD Garden parking lot.
It does not. But shout out to the TD Garden parking lot for having pretty good service down here. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
I know I'm on level 4 and I got great service. So.
Yeah, that's deep. You're deep underground right now.
Oh yeah, so shout out to them. But anyway, what are you gonna do? Game 1, you lost. Just bounce back and hopefully not lose both games at home.
Well, moving into game 2, this is what I talked about at the end of the Nets series where the Celtics, they overcame all that adversity in games during the Nets series. However, they never lost a game. They never had to overcome the adversity of losing a game in a playoff series. And even more than that, losing a home game and losing home court advantage in game number 1 in a playoff series. And they almost did that against the Nets. However, they do it now against a game where they were just completely outplayed for the entire 48 minutes. And now the Celtics, like Ian said, have to go back to the drawing board on both ends of the floor and come back with a game plan that they know they can win with in game 2 because they go down to losing 2 games on your home floor and then having to go on the road and right the ship. That does not happen very often, and we see sometimes typically a team can be coming back to their home floor. Either they don't come back to their home floor or 3-1, and all of a sudden you're really an insurmountable comeback in a certain sense. And the Celtics moving forward, they have to win game 2. They straight up just have to overcome adversity and win game 2 and put this game behind them in every sense, except for, of course, probably going to be watching film all the way up until game 2 because tonight's performance, no bueno. No bueno.
I guess one more thing to say is, the Bucks are the defending champs for a reason.
Right.
There's a reason why they played. There's a reason why they stopped the Bulls, and Celtics have to say, this isn't going to be easy, but they have to, stay focused and fight through this adversity. To be honest. So.
Yeah, and I know I kind of been saying it all season, like in the Brooklyn series at halftime, I remember saying like, oh, this will tell. We're down 10.5, down 17. I was like, this will tell how the Celtics are. Game 4 when Tatum went out. With foul trouble, with 3 minutes left. I also said at postgame show, it's like, okay, well, there was our chance to see what this team really is. Well, I think game 2, like Ian said, any other team would have a lot of animosity going into the next game, a lot of, energetic kind of hype. They got to be hyped to go out and win game 2. This game 2 will tell you exactly who this team is. If the Celtics go out, turning the ball over, sloppy body language. It wasn't at all energetic from the start, even when the Celtics had an 8-point lead. It just didn't feel like, games 1 through 4 did against Brooklyn. But granted, like you said, Ian, these guys are the Bucks. They are missing Middleton, but they're also the defending champions. So put some respect on their name. But this will tell a lot about this team going in and defending the parquet on game 2. So, that it is what it is. The goal here is to go in. I mean, there's not much more we can say. Hit open shots. There's not much more we can.
And one more
Let's
thing
take better
I
shots,
want to
be
say.
physical.
I don't
Right.
know. I don't know if Al Horford felt like he was Steph Curry tonight, but
no, I'll take that though a lot. They were leaving Horford
I will
open
say,
a lot.
I will say, the reason why Giannis got a triple-double tonight was because the team was making their shots. Jason Tatum was making really good passes and hitting wide-open people, and they could not hit their shots.
Right.
Also, I want to see a little more out of Jaylen Brown. He didn't look like he did anything in this game. So
yeah, he didn't look comfortable at all. I just really want to see, I know Rob got hit in the midsection. That really put him down. That hurt him really bad. Marcus Smart got banged up all game long. I'm not saying that they were trying to injure Smart, but I'm just saying that they were out physical in Boston in every aspect. I saw Brown grab his hamstring a lot during this game. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I saw him grab it a few times, and that's clearly bothering him. I don't want to say that's the main excuse as the Celtics lost or Brown had a bad game, but I'm sure that has a huge factor to that. But game 2, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. tip-off on TNT. Celtics need to defend home court. If they go down 0-2 into Milwaukee, the series is not over, but you're going into game 2 with a stomach ache. I'll tell you that. Going into game 3 with a big stomach ache, and no Pepto-Bismol can cure that stomach ache if Milwaukee comes out and they dominate you in game 3. So we'll have you covered for Celtics Postgame Live after game 2, which is Tuesday. Any quick final thoughts before we sign off? I really have nothing more to say. I said what I needed to say.
Win game 2.
Win game 2, and somehow 48 minutes in to the second round, and the Celtics have 3 maybe not major, but certainly concerning injuries. Robert Williams, you mentioned, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown. If those guys aren't right, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough moving forward.
Yeah.
But
that's 3/5 of your starting lineup. So
yeah, but no matter what, next man up, got to win game 2.
Gotta
win
game 2.
Definitely.
Need Malik Fitz to step up big time in the crunch time. Holy, somebody's doing Fast and Furious down in the Garden parking lot down there, huh? What the hell was that about? Oh my God.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I think that's a good note to end it right there before something serious goes on. I'm Justin Lowe. That's Seamus Arlingo. That's Ian Angelo. We will catch you guys Tuesday night for Game 2 post.